I want to welcome tonight our chief formulator, Paul Sullivan. He's become a great friend of mine. He's a man of amazing science and knowledge in the nutrition field, has spent the biggest portion of his life helping people with nutrition. And he is the inventor of ID Nutrition and a lot of other products, including our product lineup. And it's just a real honor to have him on the webinar tonight. Paul, thank you for being with us. And you and I put a little work in on this webinar tonight, and hopefully we'll get to most of it. If we don't, we'll carry it over into a second webinar because I know how you are when we get to talk science. So just greet everybody, and then we'll jump right in.
Just want to wish a happy 4th of July weekend, everybody. And I'm very confident that nobody was eating any of these nitrate loaded hot dogs or greasy potato chips or high fructose corn syrup this weekend because we've taught them the value of abstaining from those kind of toxic frankenfood things. But you are allowed to have a few beers. But at any rate, I hope everybody had a nice fourth, and I look forward to speaking with you tonight.
Well, thanks, Paul. And I'm not going to say what I had on the 4th, so we'll just jump right in. All right.
Okay,
So,
go ahead.
Paul, I've got this picture up on the screen, and I had these prepared because I want to remind everybody about the amazing articles you're doing in the ID News, and we're going to cover just the last three, if we get to it, the two that have been in print and the one that's coming out. But you spent a lot of time and really explain a lot of in-depth science in our ID News, and I just want to make everybody aware of that. The reason I have it up here, we're obviously going to jump into some slides that talk about back to the basics in nutrition. But guys, this comes to you via email. It's also in your back office for you to download. So if for some reason you're not getting our emails, please don't miss out on these. And there's a bunch of these already posted. We're going to a monthly format. So moving forward, there'll be one ID news that comes out a month, and Paul will be doing an in-depth article in that every month. So let's jump right in, Paul. I'm gonna change slides, and I'm gonna let you take it from here, and I will just add accordingly. But I'm gonna let you take the driver's seat now.
Thank you, Scott. It is important, everybody, that you do kind of look at these newsletters. They're not only filled with, I think, helpful selling tips and benefits for your own health, but I try to make them very topical. There's a lot of new studies that come out that we're plugged into and uploading into the database, but often you don't see it because it's always kind of the what happens under the hood. And if we can give you some of these new studies or breakthrough news on our ingredients or our formulas, it would help you with your own health, your family's health, and of course, selling it to your associates and downline. So this newsletter came out a couple of weeks ago, really about back to basics, and it's really we've talked through the last few weeks about probiotics. We've done the omega-3 complex. We've done the antioxidant plus, and probably should have started with the basics because this is kind of what everybody gets. Not everybody, due to their perhaps dietary intake, uh, lifestyle habits, drug use, do they always get all the other nutrients, but everybody gets the basics. And the reason we call it the basics or back to basics, and that's the AM PM, is that we're really not getting basic vitamin minerals we need, even if we're eating 3 squares a day and avoiding the bad stuff, as I was kidding you about previously. We're not getting the levels we need in the vitamins. We talked about that at ID Revolution, the fact that the food levels that we're not hitting the RDAs, all the essential vitamins and minerals, and we don't. And the RDAs are really designed to keep you from uh, to actually deliver the minimum and not enough to optimize health. So remember that we're delivering levels that are studied within the research as well as those that minimize chronic disease, promote healthy aging, and overall by optimizing health. So we've provided you with these numbers before, but I think they're relevant here to remind you that mineral losses in our foods have declined over the last 100 years at an alarming rate. A lot of it's due to shipping from distant states, if not countries, that the calcium levels are down 48%. You can read all this. Iron, 96. Magnesium, so critical, down 83%, and zinc levels down 38%. With all of these critical minerals, of course, are needed for energy, for bone health, for optimal organ health, particularly for sugar metabolism. I think a lot of the deficiencies here in our diet have a lot to do with the weight gain over the past 20 years in the American diet. And of course, food processing can be another vitamin destroyer. And I don't mean food processing at home, but food processing for shipping to you. Blanching, canning, freezing destroys up to 60% of vitamin C, 40% of B2, and 30% of vitamin B1. So it's just, if you're going to rely on your diet, even though we say 3 squares a day, a lot of dietitians would argue that you are getting enough if you eat organic, if you eat local. We certainly encourage you to do all that, and still want you to get the fiber, the energy that you would get from the food you eat. But it's just, in my view, you just have to have the insurance of the basic nutrition that we cover at ID Nutrition.
Paul, you make a statement in our business presentation video that really was shocking to me about the transportation of oranges, and I'm assuming that's probably a problem in other fruits and vegetables, but just shipping it from South America to our local grocery store loses some of the actual vitamin quality in the fruit. And you talked about the vitamin C's rolling and being bumped and losing a percentage of the oranges losing their vitamin C. That was an amazing thought process to me. And
yeah, the illustration I used, Scott, thanks for reminding me, was rolling an orange across the floor, and if it hits the wall some 10, 15 feet from you, that a lot of the vitamin C, which is very volatile, can be lost. So if you can imagine in the shipping, if everybody here doesn't happen to have an orange tree in their backyard, that the C, that if 60% of it's lost, there's only probably 100 milligrams of C in that orange anyway. So you need absolutely every milligram possible from the food. And with any destruction, then you're getting a lot less value, and it has a lot to do with our reduced antioxidant intake.
Perfect. Well, again, amazing to me. So, what I don't know about nutrition.
Well, we're saying, as the slide points out, that we're addressing the shortfalls and providing foundational nutrient formulas, the basis for the whole program. In many other vitamin formulas, what you might buy over the counter, you're probably not only getting what we would call artificial or synthetic forms of the vitamins, but you would be getting what we call label paint. Lots of vitamins, you might see 30, 40, 50 listed on the label, and they say, what a value, what a bargain. But you look at all of it, and they're in micrograms or maybe a low milligram weight, that are not really supplying enough of what we call the studied dose, or the basic amount that would serve as foundational nutrient. The basic AM and PM, of course, are provided. We've told you about Chrono Nutrition, our dedication to delivering the right nutrient at the right time of day. We're basically giving vitamins and minerals that you need in the morning that are best absorbed, that the body's looking for, with that breakfast packet. And then, of course, the dinner packet would contain those nutrients that are basically utilized for detoxing the liver during the night, for supporting the cardiovascular system, for reducing inflammation, and all of those the body's really seeking to do is it repairs and rejuvenates itself overnight.
Paul, that the science behind chrono dosing and chrono nutrition has always intrigued me. And when you talk about circadian rhythms and how our body operates, it always has amazed me that even as simple as something as the omegas that we take in our PM pack, which by the way, you did an amazing ID news on the omegas, which we're not going to get to tonight, but that's a tidbit for you guys listening to go get that out of your back office. But just briefly touch on that, Paul. Because I've polled literally thousands of people, if not tens of thousands of people at this point, and almost every one of them takes their omegas in the morning. Why doesn't the industry tell people to take their omegas in the evening when it can do the best for them? Just touch on that just briefly before we keep going.
Well, when we say chrononutrition or chronobiology, Scott, we're really talking about having the nutrient available to the body when it most needs it, and with as well as when it's absorbing it better. Most of our fat soluble vitamins are better absorbed at night, and that's why we put not only omega 3s but your vitamin D, your vitamin E. But with the omegas, where they're delivering, there's multi-purpose, of course, uses of the omega 3s. It's for inflammation, it's for cardiovascular health, it's for healthy blood, and it's basically those all of those systems are repairing themselves overnight. And just as a one example, in the morning, whenever the cardiovascular system is at risk, the highest, because statistically over 70% of the strokes and cardiovascular events, heart attacks and things happen in the morning, usually between 7 and 10 in the morning. That if these nutrients are available to the body overnight, we really see that it'll be minimize or reduce the risk. Uh, Given if you could take it in the morning, there's still some value. And believe me, if that's the only time they could remember to take it, they should. And maybe that's where the other people are coming from. But we draw the line, to really have a distinction of using that nutrient at the time of day when it's best needed. There's even prescription, more and more hypertension medications are being used in the late afternoon, dinner time, early evening because of that same risk and the benefit thereof.
Right. Well, I appreciate that, Paul, and I know that's off script. We weren't going to talk about that tonight, but really wanted to add that in a little bit. Just again, we always have to remember that there's hundreds of new people joining ID Life every month, and so we kind of take for granted that everybody knows what in the heck we're talking about when really they probably don't. So, anyway, back to you. I'm sorry.
Well, it's this was kind of the example I gave along with the previous slide was the basic AM, which would appear in your breakfast packet, provides the vitamins and minerals that build energy, vitality to help maximize your body's metabolism throughout the day. These are the nutrients, for instance, some of the B complexes you wouldn't want to be taking at night when you're seeking to kind of wind down and be able to relax and get the proper rest. And I use the example kind of in the opposite is you wouldn't take melatonin in the morning,
Right.
like one of our sleep strips, that would probably have your head in your keyboard, within an hour or so.
Hey,
We
total segue on our sleep strips. We don't talk about those much, but I can tell you that it's an amazing product for literally thousands of people that are part of ID Life. I can tell you I get more response from immediate benefits for our ID sleep strips. I just want to thank you. You did an amazing job on that formulation, and it really truly has changed people's lives. And as you talk about, even right here, a good night's sleep is vital for long-term health and for nutrition use. And I'm going to say use for your body to properly use nutrition. And so anyway, I wanted to throw that shameless plug in that if you're on this webinar and you haven't tried the sleep strips, you should. And Paul, you always want to touch. You and I've talked about this many times, but what's in our sleep strips with the 5-HTP and um, that we should,
L-theanine.
yeah, the L-theanine and the melatonin, the five, and that really the five, and with the 5-HTP, that they should be taking these for their health, not just for their sleep. So
Absolutely. The melatonin uh, is just studies coming out every month about the value of it. The fact that we're losing a lot of it from probably age 30 onward, that we don't generate enough of it, that it's not only used for sleep, but it's an incredible antioxidant. It's used for to reduce oxidative stress in the brain. They're finding it useful now, even in bone health, because there's a new study going on at my former pharmacy school that is really showing that melatonin and healthy melatonin levels during the night help promote healthy bone health because they work in kind of a symbiotic um, method. So I think I never had trouble getting to sleep, and I take the sleep strip every night just because I think it ought to be almost a nighttime vitamin. And of course, the melatonin part of it is getting us to sleep, and we use the triphasic approach that we teach in a lot of our products where we help you get to sleep, stay asleep, and awake and refreshed. So melatonin gets you to sleep. The L-theanine is helps you with anxiety. People that wake up with their mind clicking away, about yesterday's problems or tomorrow's problems, be they financial worries or caregiver worries, and often might get up to go to the bathroom and can't get back to sleep. The L-theanine picks things up kind of in the middle of the night, gets rid of that anxiety, gives them helpful rest the rest of the way, and then the 5-HTP, which, by the way, is very low in the morning. And when people talk about serotonin, all of your antidepressants, the serotonin is lowest in the morning. So the 5-HTP helps, give that a little boost. So when people awaken, they're less depressed if they have lower serotonin levels and they're very refreshed. So that's kind of the way that was designed, and it seems to be working pretty smoothly, Scott, where we are seeing a lot of people that are having a lot of good luck with that. In
yeah,
fact, we have hear reports about some people getting off of some of the more dangerous prescription nighttime medications for sleep as a result of it.
yes, we do. Anyway, yeah, great segue, and I appreciate you adding in that. It's amazing information, and so I just
Well,
wanted
I'm
to.
good at segueing all over the place, so you just have to pin me down.
Well, let's keep rolling. Let's talk about some of our formulas.
Yeah, the most important part, and what I'm proud of, and I think it's why people have confidence in ID nutrition, is that the ID nutrition changes as science changes, and we have been evolving. If there's a new study that's valid that we can apply in appropriate doses to our membership, to our patients, we do so by making the change the next time out. When you buy a product anywhere else off the shelf, that or from some other network marketing company, that product usually stays static. They stay with that formula forever. But as we see things change, both good and bad, by the way, Scott, there are times where we haven't had to do that yet, but we're certainly ready if we see something that maybe isn't working so well that we actually delete it from the program. But one thing we're particularly proud of that we want to announce is next month we are changing in the AM Basic and the PM and AM that we're talking about here, our folate source from folic acid to 5-methylfolate, and our B12 source from cyanocobalamin to methylcobalamin or methyl B12. And it will supply these critical vitamins now in their coenzyme form or physiological form, the form that doesn't depend on other enzymes to break it down. We're finding more and more, and you see that there have been up to 85% of our population they're finding now are having certain genetic mutations with a, uh, a gene called an enzyme called MTHFR that prevents the folic acid from being metabolized to its useful form of 5-methylfolate. So we have gone and you and Logan, and have gone ahead and we've kind of authorized the move to put in the methylfolate to even though it's a lot more expensive to do so, along with the methylcobalamin, to deliver that coenzymatic form, to deliver that physiological form that's better absorbed, so everybody within our scope of clientele can be protected from this genetic problem, whether they have it or not. So in either way, it enhances absorption. And after a couple months of being on it, I think people will actually feel the difference. If you'll hit me the next slide, I can.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing real quick as we move on. Paul, we're not going to ever, ID Life will never let um, decisions be made based upon financial when it comes to those ingredients. When there's better science and a better way, we're going to figure out how to do it. And I think you know that about Logan already, and it's excellence, period. And that's what we're going to do. And making those decisions, as you noted, were cost decisions, and we have not raised the price of those two supplements. And so there'll be times and there'll be price increases in life, as we know, and as nutrition goes up, because it does go up every year, just like the cost of inflation. But as of right now, the answer is, it's changed. It's included. It's coming out next month, and so that's the way we roll. So go ahead.
Well, that is fantastic because whether some people know it or not, the cost of these ingredients that are being replaced are something like $100 a kilogram to $15,000 a kilogram for the more physiological form, the coenzyme form. Those are the kind of choices that ID Life is making for their memberships that nobody else would be making. They'd be floating along with the old normal stuff you find in 99.9% of the other products. And here's a few examples that I put for this. Improper folic acid metabolism can be a risk for cancer, certain cancers, miscarriages, cardiovascular dysfunctions, which hypertension would be one, neuronal tube disorders, and now they're finding even dementia and psychiatric disorders. So all of these things, from poor methylation, poor folic acid metabolism, and B12 metabolism, will be say these are things that our membership, the people that are taking ID Nutrition, the members of ID Life, would have a greatly reduced risk of either getting these types of diseases or having perhaps a present medical condition further erode due to some poor folic acid metabolism.
Right.
So, somewhat what I've said here, very few companies, let alone direct sales, would go to this expense. ID Life continues to improve their product, making profound changes to formulations, as the science arises. And just this week, we changed the vitamin B complex that'll also have this new B12 and 5-methylfolate in it, and a new glucose metabolism product that has all the newest science. And I was so excited. I was talking to a couple of our scientific medical board members that Scott, that you and I have discussed, that I think it's going to be so effective in holding down blood sugar and decreasing insulin resistance, which is a cause of diabetes and weight gain. And I think that we may have to put a warning on each month's packets that if they're taking diabetic medications or insulin, they would have to monitor their blood glucose on a daily basis, because I think with this proper nutrition, this kind of new formulation, that I think you're going to see a healthy lowering of the blood glucose without reliance on drugs.
Right.
So pretty excited about that.
Which we hate to use the word warning, because actually it's a positive warning, but I don't know of a better word. But anyway, we'll clarify that as that new formulation comes out. But I know you're very excited about it.
Yeah, I'll call it an alert.
Alert. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. So let's. That was a good session on the basics. Let's jump into vitamin D. There is a lot. Again, this is the ID News slide that shows where you did the article on vitamin D. But boy, there is a lot of science out on vitamin D, and a lot of misunderstanding, and a lot of people being told they need to take huge amounts of vitamin D, and so on and so forth. So let's just jump. Let's jump right into that and talk about vitamin D.
Okay, and here, Scott, this is my example of why people really need to look at this newsletter. Because when we did this newsletter was, maybe 2 weeks ago, and we picked up an article out of the June 12th, that's 2014, by the way, should have added that, I guess, issue of the American Journal of Public Health, a review of 32 articles, of which is really valuable because it's not any one article that might be slanted toward a particular medical condition, but they just generally, researchers found that persons with low levels of vitamin D3 are more likely to suffer premature death than persons with high levels of D3. So this is the kind of information that helps people on a personal basis, helps them with their family, helps them sell the program, represent it to others, helps some of the doctors on the call to give the information to their patients on an absolutely current basis. So you say die prematurely. Well, of what? Well, there's a lot of different challenges. They point out the immune system challenges in these 32 studies that they're saying D3 levels are beneficial to lung and airways, help prevent. We can't use the word prevent or treat, but help prevent bronchitis and pneumonia. And that's why taking vitamin D in the winter, when we're getting less sun, is helping with people that might have weak upper respiratory systems, often get the flu or get heavy colds. We're finding this past winter, people maintaining sufficient levels of D3 were able to kind of dodge those problems, as well as those that may suffer from winter colds and flu. So those with did not supplement actually had a 9 times more likelihood of suffering from winter colds and flu. And then lower levels of D3 also increase many cancers, including breast, the risk of many cancers, breast, ovarian, prostate, colorectal, and cervical. So those are among, I just had a friend of mine here a couple months ago was diagnosed with prostate cancer, 49 years old. They checked his levels of vitamin D3 and they were like vapor. They were like 10 nanograms per milliliter. And here's a young man of 49 now facing very serious surgery. So I told him at least have the doctor check your D3. That's what he did. And he came back with that number. He was really upset at the doctor for not checking it earlier. But I think that with the newsletter and with the fact that we're driven to wellness here, prevention, that I just encourage everybody to take, and I did at ID Revolution, to take charge of your own health care. Get your own vitamin D tested. Tell your doctor you want to test it. Did you want to maintain those levels up north of 50 nanograms per milliliter? 75 would be better. But most doctors see it at 20 to 30 nanograms per milliliter and think that that's adequate when it's far from adequate. And it's something we can measure. Mental function and brain development, same thing with D3. These lower levels are more likely to suffer from depression and mood regulation due to hormonal imbalances. You hear about people in the north, up in Minneapolis or in Seattle, suffering from depression in the winter, and have called it seasonal affective disorder, SAD, and likened it to lack of sunlight. Well, it's not just the sunlight, it's the D3 that comes from the sunlight. So supplementing with that, even in your northern latitudes. At ID Life, we ask where you live. Because geographically, if you live in Seattle, you live in Minneapolis, we're going to give you more D3 than if you're in Dallas or you're in Santa Barbara. So geography is important to us. Vitamin D3 deficiency linked to lower mood, intellectual levels in elderly, 60% increase in dementia. That's a crime if it can be corrected with simple addition of vitamin D, appropriate levels. And I would even encourage anybody and everybody to start taking it now. You're getting it in your ID Life. I mean, your ID nutrition. But even if you can't get a physical for 6 months to get it tested, at least whatever that score will be, it'll be higher, and you'll be better protected from many of these medical condition, these health risks. Less vitamin D, more early deaths with bone formation, the increased risk of osteoporosis, osteopenia, lack of D3 to combine with calcium and other minerals. A lot of people take plenty of calcium, but in absence of D3, they're going to get osteoporosis or at least weak bone. Autoimmune disorders, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis. There's a diagram that I've seen that you can draw a line from Santa Barbara, just a little bit north of here, to across to Charlotte, North Carolina, about 35 degrees latitude. And north of that, you will find 70% of the cases of rheumatoid arthritis. And why is that? It's lack of winter sunshine, lack of vitamin D. And if you're born up there, same thing with multiple sclerosis. If you're born in a northern latitude and move to Dallas, your chances are you still have a higher risk because you were raised as a child, in that latitude. So very important to be able to supplement with D3 there. Cardiovascular and circulatory health. You can see we're covering about everything. And believe me, these are all linked to studies. This sounds like the one happy pill for everybody, but it is so cheap and it is so deficient in our diets. It's not in dairy. It's more and more milk manufacturers and suppliers are changing from D2 to D3. D2 is absorbed at about 25% the rate of D3, and they still only have 100 units of D3 in an 8-ounce glass of milk. That's still vapor. You still need, 10 times that as a minimum, maybe 30 times depending on where you live and what the season is. So 40% increase in heart disease, 64% increase in heart attacks with inadequate levels of D3. Again, the autoimmune, some other scleroderma, autoimmune thyroid, all of them have a linking to vitamin D deficiency. What levels of D3 are recommended? Well, we get pretty aggressive, but Dr. Cedric Garland, professor of Department of Family and Preventative Medicine at UC San Diego, was a lead author in a study we've been citing tonight with all these numbers. And I know Cedric, and I attend that UC San Diego Medical School has a big seminar, a 2 to 3 day seminar every year on vitamin D and all the newest breakthroughs on it. But he states that blood levels, the amount associated with half of the deaths were below 30 nanograms per milliliter. I mean, that's a crime. 2/3 of the population has lower levels than this. So it's meeting the level of 50 to 60 that we say is minimal. Is many doctors might say, well, that's a little bit high. It might hurt your kidneys. There's no evidence of that. You can be well over 100 nanograms per milliliter. In fact, probably over 150 before you'd show any evidence there. And all you have to do is stop taking it for a couple of weeks and it comes down rather quickly. ID nutrition, we recognize sun exposure and geography, as we say, plays a part in a recommended. We do ask in our assessment, how much time do you spend in the sun? And believe me, if people say, if you live in Arizona or you live in Dallas, you're going to get enough sun exposure to restore your vitamin D stores, they call it. I beg to differ with you. I think you'd have to be I could just picture Scott like this in a Speedo at the equator for half your life to get enough sun to raise your vitamin D levels to the appropriate level. So,
Okay, I'm not sure about the Speedo, but I like the analogy. Paul, one of the things that you mentioned that you say on the screen there is yearly testing recommended, and I just want to kind of clear up a myth. I mean, a lot of people think that we don't uh, agree with blood testing or don't think it's valuable, which is exactly the opposite. We're about wellness and nutrition, and you should have yourself checked out annually. And blood testing now is so much. The cost is coming down so dramatically. You could go in and have it done at these clinics, really for a few dollars. And we have the ability now, and we brought this up about a month or so ago, and some of the new people might not know, but based upon medical recommendation for individuals, that's the reason we gave our associates the ability to change some of the vitamin dosing up to the maximum amounts allowable in the tables, and it was just for this exact reason. If you went and had a blood test and your vitamin D was dramatically low, what we're recommending might be not be enough, and they're able to add to that. And it's a wonderful feature we have in our system. Is actually it was your idea, and so anyway, just I wanted just to kind of clear that up. And we work with medicine. Wellness is part of the overall being healthy solution, and we're not against it.
Yeah, uh, Scott, the other thing that, as I've had this question, and they say, well, we see two different kinds of vitamin D uh, on in your program. Well, we actually have D in the bone formula, we have D in the basic PM, but we do have D 1000 unit, and we have D3 2600 units, and we call it cofactors. Now, in the previous newsletter, we talked about cofactors of folic acid and vitamin B12. We also added cofactors to the vitamin D3 formulation. And those cofactors are magnesium, zinc, uh, retinol, and a little bit of lipase. And why would you add that? Well, there can be people, you need magnesium to be able to absorb D3 to hydroxylate it through the kidney, so it moves on to the liver. So it's the ability to uh, move it then to the vitamin D receptors. You say, well, why doesn't everybody? Some people can be taking appropriate levels of D3, but maybe their readings don't go up. Well, it has to go to vitamin D receptors, the VDRs, and with those, you have to have enough zinc available. They call it zinc fingers that are sticking out of the receptors, and vitamin A to have the vitamin D and the 1,2,5 dihydroxy cholecalciferol is that form that has to go on the vitamin D receptor. In the absence of zinc and retinol, then that would not be absorbed. So we take care, again, ID Nutrition spares no expense going to the more expensive formula to assure absorption, and that it's actually absorbed into the body, and of course into the cells where it can optimize everybody's health.
Um,
So
Great.
the D1000 doesn't have that cofactor, and that's just one. If you need like 3,500 or 4,000, you can build on top of the 2,600 with the 1,000. That's just vitamin D by itself. But vitamin D cofactors is a very advanced formula that has, I say, all the ingredients added to assure absorption.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's keep rolling. And we're about 3 minutes away from the top of the hour, Paul. And you've got a newsletter coming out in the next few days, and this is going to be the topic: iNutrition as a natural detox. So let's just tease everybody. Since we only have a few minutes left, let's don't get into it in depth. We'll follow up with another. You and I will do another session coming soon, and we'll cover some more items. But since this is in the new newsletter, let's give them enough information to make sure they want to read the one that's coming out.
Well, everybody, this slide pretty much says it here. Unfortunate buildup of toxins. I call it the Sides brothers: pesticide, insecticide, herbicide, fungicide. They're often unpreventable. There's our modern diet, nutrient deficiencies that allow these toxins to accumulate. I want to make that point. It's detox is important. You should do it, a couple times a year. Some might say every quarter. But if you don't have the proper nutrition to start with, these nutrient deficiencies allow these toxins to accumulate. And there's a lot of nutrients that are in the ID Nutrition that help kind of shield and protect the accumulation of these toxins, that help you with the detoxification of these toxins, that help with the elimination of these toxins, because all of these processes have to work. And if you do even detox without having an elimination of it or the cleansing part, those toxins will reabsorb into the system. And here it's saying many of us can't tolerate the harsh side effects of unintended discomfort from this effort because of all the stimulants, the laxatives, the purgatives, the diuretics. I say it's an admirable effort, and I can't argue against doing it, but everybody is so uh, kind of enamored with detoxing periodically. But I think the best defense, the best offense here is a defense to protect yourself against the accumulation of these toxins by using a proper nutrition. Now you're starting to give it away a little bit, Scott, but I'll go one more.
Well, we're right at the end, and so we're giving them a little tease here. And
Okay,
so, guys, as you
okay,
can see, there's more science, and you're going to have to read it in the newsletter. And then Paul and I will do another session here soon. I'll get with Paul and see what works with him, either the coming week or in the coming weeks. We have a great webinar planned presently for next Sunday night, which is we're going to have associates on and talking about their success stories. But Paul, um, I appreciate your time tonight, your knowledge and understanding of nutrition and the success that you are allowing us to have with your creation and your formulations in ID Nutrition are amazing. And I just want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for taking an hour out of your Sunday night to be with us, and we'll do it again soon. And we have some amazing things planned at Revolution with our SciMed board and with you. And so, guys, you just don't want to miss out on that. And so, Paul, again, thank you for being with me tonight and for being with all the ID Life Associates. Guys, it was a great start to the week. Again, look forward to communicating with each one of you this week. Don't miss the Road to Revolution and ID Universities. And we'll be with you soon. Thanks again,
right
everybody.
on, everybody.